Cool. I think we are live, if I'm not mistaken. We'll give it a few minutes as always, just to let some folks trickle in here. Good to see you guys on the other end. It's been a little while. Everybody's been out capitalizing on the hunts that they did draw, and now we're transitioning back into figuring out where we're going to try and draw for the next year, which is crazy. But good catching up with you guys for a little bit. How is the hunting season?
Whew. It went fast, too fast, and we're already into it, like you said. But
Austin's still hunting. He's headed on a sheep hunt tomorrow.
No kidding. Where's that one at?
down in Arizona, helping on a sheep hunt down there.
His sister has a tag.
Oh, nice. That'll be a
Hopefully, we can find some.
that'll be a blast. I expect to be updated via photos throughout the week.
Yep. That sounds good. You should see my onX account. It's flooded with waypoints and ideas and photos.
Possibilities.
Yep.
I love it. Well, yeah, we'll kind of kick this off here. Like I said, it's been almost a year since we've done one of these, but this is kind of starting the new year of application season. I'm super excited to be talking with the good folks at Huntin and my go-to when it comes to knowledge and information about where to apply and all the nuances, which we'll get into today, specifically for Idaho. Couple kind of housekeeping things before I kick it over to them. We are Your videos, I should say, are you're muted and your video's turned off, so don't worry about that. And then a couple other ones. Reminder, if you guys have a onX question or some sort of account issue, email help@onxmaps.com. That's a lot better way than the Q&A. And then speaking of the Q&A, we are going to be answering, I should say, Huntington's going to be answering a bunch of questions at the end of this. So use the Q&A function down at the bottom and drop some questions in. Use the chat to talk amongst yourselves and let us know where you're tuning in from and all that good stuff. But actually go to the Q&A function to ask some questions that we will cherry pick from at the end. Last thing, we are doing a giveaway. Huntful is going to be giving away 5 free consultations, which are super valuable. So stay till the end, get signed up for that, and then we'll be giving away 5 of those. And if you're watching this recording after it's live, the giveaway is closed. So with that being said, I'll let you guys kind of introduce yourselves, talk a little bit about Hunting, and then we'll dive into Idaho.
Perfect. Why don't you introduce yourself first, and then I'll introduce and we'll
All right.
launch.
It's good to be back on another masterclass. My name is Austin Atkinson. I live here in southern Utah in Cedar City, where Huntington is based. I've been here almost 11 years at Huntington full time. Well, it's been a good ride. It's been busy, and I've seen a lot of changes to draws and hunting just in the 11 years here. But this is where I raised my family and try to get them out on as many hunts and experiences as I can.
And he gets out on a lot of hunts and experiences, but he always makes time to work harder than anybody in the building. My name is Jared Lyle. I'm the CEO here at Huntin Fool. Been privileged enough to be here for 10 years now. We absolutely love these masterclass opportunities. At the end of the day, our whole goal is to help people go on more hunts with better information. And we see these as an opportunity to do so. So hopefully we have a fairly short presentation tonight, because we want to make room for questions on the backside of it if there are any follow-up questions. Today's goal is to help you decide, should I apply in the Idaho non-resident regular draw period, which ends on December 15. So the window is short. You're gonna have to make a decision fairly quickly. We're here to try to help you navigate whether or not to make that decision.
Yeah.
And to Austin's point, these are a huge privilege to be able to weigh in and talk to all of you out there and hopefully help you navigate the decision-making process.
That's right. We want to remind everybody, you do get a free membership to Huntin Full if you're an onX Elite. If you're not an onX Elite, you should be. But you can access all of our tools on the Huntin Full website just by coming over and validating your Elite membership. You can jump into your free Huntin Full membership. And this is kicking off, the 2026 application season. We've got one we're going to do in January as well. That's going to be about Wyoming and Arizona elk, but stay tuned for more information on that. So the big question, we've been talking about this, and I wish I could see all of your faces in a room because you're all asking the same question. If you're on social media or you're anywhere, you're saying, should I apply in this new Idaho general elk draw? Everybody's talking about it. What does it mean? Who is it for? That's what we're going to try to answer tonight. The process in the past has been over the counter, right? Over the counter tags, right, for non-residents. And then over the counter turned into a mad rush. And so we successfully crashed the website, us meaning non-resident hunters, by the tens of thousands. We destroyed Idaho's website every December 1st when the tags would go on sale. And people found out it was easier to either call in on the phone or fly to Idaho and stand in line at a license vendor, at a Cabela's or a Sportsman's Warehouse or a gas station, and try to beat the system there, because these tags would go fast, right? Just 8-9 years ago, these tags would be over the counter through the season. They would never sell out. You could buy tags when you showed up in Idaho. And now we've gone all the way through this messy process on the December 1st sale day to a true draw. And that's what we're faced with this year. This draw, like we said, it's open right now. So it's very relevant. If you're not going to apply, the next few days, that's fine. We're going to give you enough information to plan for a future year if you think, maybe next year it's for you. But all over the counter tags for non-residents are eliminated. All general elk zones and deer units now have quotas for non-residents. The only way to get an over-the-counter tag is the outfitter allocated tags. If you book a guided hunt with an outfitter, they do have a set-aside quota for their areas, and they can sell you that tag over the counter. Generally, we're talking more about a self-guided hunt, a do-it-yourself hunt, and that's what we're going to focus on tonight. It's important to realize in the past, if you've applied for deer, elk, or antelope in the controlled draw in Idaho, it made you not be able to apply for sheep, moose, goat, or vice versa. So I, for example, apply for moose in Idaho, so that cut me out of applying for deer, elk, and antelope. So I've kind of forgot about deer, elk, and antelope in the controlled draw, which happens in June. This general draw that happens now in December is totally separate. You are still eligible for the sheep, moose, and goat, and you're still eligible for the controlled deer, elk, and antelope if you want to go that way. You can simply exchange your tag. If you draw general, you draw controlled later, you could switch it. Idaho will gladly help you with that. So this is above and beyond separate process happening now in December.
And it's important to note that Idaho still does not have a point system of any kind. So like Austin alluded to, if you set out this year, it's not a big deal. You didn't miss a point on your balance sheet, so to speak. So Idaho still, all of these tags that we're talking about tonight, the Idaho deer and elk general specifically, but moose, sheep, goat, etc. There is no point system in Idaho. So you're not building a point portfolio when you apply.
Yep. So we're going to go through some of the basics, and some of these are questions that you need to ask yourself to decide, should I apply and where? Big question on elk is, are you an archery hunter or are you a rifle hunter? General elk opportunities in Idaho are plentiful if you're an archery hunter and you're willing to hunt the archery season, which most units is August 30th through September 30th. So you get a month-long season. It's a great opportunity to hunt a lot of different units that you can choose from in this draw. If you say, I'm a firearm guy only, rifle or muzzleloader, your options are severely limited on the general elk options. It's just because a lot of these zones or units do not have rifle general season dates. They do is put a lot of those rifle hunts into a controlled draw, which is a limited entry, more difficult to draw, that'll take place in June. So these are just general season hunts, if you will. The statewide non-resident general quota is set at 12,815. It's kind of an irrelevant number because they're all broken out by zones, but that gives you an idea of how many of these general tags will be sold.
Yep. And as the slide mentions, there's A tags and B tags in Idaho. The A tag is archery rich. The B tag is rifle rich in general, meaning that it favors one of those two weapon types. So to Austin's point, if you're looking for a centerfire or a muzzleloader hunt, the B tags are severely limited in terms of the general season elk tags.
We're taking a lot of calls here at the Huntin' Full office, and this is one of the first questions we ask: are you archery or are you a rifle hunter? As you're looking at these hunts, and that'll help us kind of determine where we're going from there. When you jump over to deer, we don't ask that question as often, archery versus rifle. The reason is for the general deer tags, you can hunt all seasons that happen within a specific unit. So you could hunt the archery season if there's an available one for that unit. If there's a later rifle season, say in October, you could hunt that as well. So you're not stuck to one weapon. You can hunt any season that's available in that unit. Now, some units don't have archery and rifle. Some only have archery and maybe not a rifle. And we'll tell you how to navigate that. But a general deer tag is unit specific, and that can be put on a mule deer or a whitetail, whatever the valid species is in the unit. Then there's a whitetail only tags. We'll show you those. Those are easier to draw because they're only whitetail deer, and they have, later season dates. A lot of the people will hunt those into November, December, and they're whitetail specific. So easier to draw, but you can't shoot a mule deer on those. The statewide non-resident general quota is just over 15,000 tags. Of course, it's broken down unit by unit, but that's how many is going to be there hunting.
Yep. It is important to note that if you want those extended dates, whitetail is going to be your best bet in the state of Idaho. Generally speaking, a lot of those seasons do get extended clear into the rut and through the rut, whereas in the mule deer, pretty much that's reserved exclusively for controlled hunts.
Okay, now the big question. We've talked about weapons, we talked about species you're interested in, but where should I even apply for this? So much of this comes down to where you live and where you want to go. I know that's generic, but this is a general draw. So keep in mind, you can't say, I just want to put in for the very best. I want to put in for the Henry Mountains or the Arizona Strip. And if I get a tag, great, I'll go. This is a general draw. So you've got to know these odds are much easier to get a tag, but there's no silver bullet. There's no best unit, if you will. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder here. So wherever you live, say you live in Eastern Oregon, you're probably going to want to hunt on the west side of Idaho. If you live in Utah, you're probably not going to want to hunt on the Canadian border. You're going to want to hunt right across into Idaho. Same thing for Montana. So Idaho is a big state. It's shaped very funny. And there's a substantial difference in the hunting experience up near Canada versus down on the Utah-Wyoming border. So think about that. We talked to a lot of guys this week from, say, Texas, right? And they say, I want to go to Idaho and hunt elk. Well, you're driving through New Mexico, where you may be able to get a tag. You're driving through Colorado. You may be able to get a tag. You're driving past a lot of elk to get to Idaho. It might not meet your expectations. So consider that. Obviously, we spend a ton of time on onX looking at public land access. There's still our big private ranches in Idaho. It's not as bad as, say, Montana, but there's some issues you got to look at when you're deciding where to go and then what kind of style of hunt. I know, Jared, you're more of a side-by-side, stay in the truck type hunter.
Anymore, yeah. Maybe even from my cabin.
Just kidding.
But there are a lot of two-wheel motorized vehicle access trails in Idaho. Even there, word of caution, many of those are restricted in that you cannot hunt from your two-wheeled motorized vehicle. So you got to check the regs, but there's a lot of access in Idaho into remote areas that you can get creative with, even for a guy like me that just likes to hunt off the back of my side-by-side, as you're alluding to.
Oh, but Idaho has some of the roughest, nastiest terrain, all the way down to the most mild sagebrush covered hills. And that's for deer and elk. So there's not just one area. There are animals spread over the entire state. If you're a backpacker, if you have horses in stock, that all makes a difference. If you're scared of wolves and grizzly bears and you don't want to hunt around them, that's going to make a difference. As they spill over from Wyoming and Montana, they have plenty of those issues. And you just have to see what kind of experience do you want. Maybe I put that general archery with a controlled rifle. What does that mean? It means it's a general archery elk hunt, but all the rifle tags after are controlled, so super limited in the draw for rifle pressure. So maybe the bigger bulls aren't getting killed as much. There's no general rifle that may increase my quality, those sort of things.
Yep. And in general, public land access Idaho's one of the top states for providing tons of public land access. There are zones, as Austin alluded to, that are more difficult than others to have plenty of access. And again, that's where we rely on onX at that point. I don't want to get an elk tag where I can't go hunt, and nor does Austin or anybody probably out there. So
yeah, I'll touch on this. When you go to your onX and you're looking at your map on your mobile or on the computer, Idaho does not use the same unit boundaries for deer and elk, for example. So you have to click the layers, the GMU layers, and show if you want just the units, which are numbered. Those are going to be your deer units. And then when you switch it over to elk zones, then you see the little regional areas that are zones. It's kind of confusing because they're not all the same.
Right.
But as long as you turn on the right layer, you can see what you're looking at and overlay those layer highlights.
And that last bullet point there, I grew up in Idaho. I've hunted a ton of those general archery units that have the controlled rifle hunt on the backside of the hunt, generally speaking. And it's a pretty phenomenal opportunity, in my opinion, to get a chance to get out on primarily public land, chase elk around. I think one of these slides, population objectives. Most of the state of Idaho is at or above population objectives, which means there's a lot of elk to be had.
Yeah. Not so much for deer, mule deer right now.
Deer herding.
They're coming back.
Yeah.
As you continue to ask the where question, in our November magazine, which is available on our website, we have a lot of the harvest success rates included with our comments. So you can see what the hunt advisors suggest on, there's 37 hunts you can choose from, but these are kind of the better ones that have public access. Are there bulls in there if you're elk hunting? Are there good deer numbers? Can you find them? Can you glass? We put all our comments in there, and that's how you can narrow down. So think about all the questions we just asked on the last two slides and start diving into a unit that you just say, I'm going to pick this. I'm going to research it. I'm going to e-scout, and I'm going to go.
And Idaho was one of the original pioneers for a mandatory harvest reporting. And so Idaho's state data is actually very, very powerful for us here at Huntin' Fool to help our members make decisions and ourselves. So what Austin's touching on there with harvest success rates, et cetera, Idaho's been doing this almost, I don't know if they might have been the very first pioneer, but
to go full mandatory.
Yep, long time ago. So there's a lot of great data on the state website too.
Can we throw Montana under the bus a little bit?
We can throw Montana under the bus right now.
Montana's got weeks and weeks and weeks of open seasons, over the counter general licenses for residents, and they have no idea how many animals they kill, how big they are, or how old they are.
Yep.
Not a clue.
Thank you, Idaho, by the way.
It's nice to have data.
Yeah, it is. Helps you make informed decisions.
Yep. All right. Quotas, draw odds. How do I even tell? I've got my super fancy little illustration here of the cart
before the horse.
The cart before the horse. This is where it gets complicated in Idaho. We are going into the draw right now, December, for 2026 tags, but the seasons are not released yet or finalized. So it's a money grab. Idaho's trying to get at us early, just like Wyoming does and some of these other states. But in order to tell if there's a season and what the season dates are, you're not going to know when you go to the application. You're not applying for a specific hunt. You are applying for a tag that's valid in a unit as long as that unit has seasons next year. So what we say is you take the booklet that Idaho has on their website on the left, that's the quotas, all the tags. Then you look at the unit, go over to the last year's regulations, 2025 regulations, and see what hunts actually occurred there, what the weapons or what the restrictions were. Clear as mud?
Yeah, no, it's not, unfortunately. you also need to make sure in that 2025 regulation booklet, that's where you're going to find things like a 2-point restriction for mule deer, for example. There's quite a few units in Idaho that have a 2-point only or smaller or a 2-point only restriction.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times, if you're looking at the new non-resident general tag allocation booklet, you'll see all these tags, but they're not specific that, hey, typically speaking, you can only harvest a 2-point buck on this number of tags. So
Sure.
Really important when you're looking at the application booklet for these general tags to also compare it to the 2025 regulations. Our assumption here at Hunt and Fool is that they're going to be very, very similar. And if there was, for example, if there was a 2-point restriction last year, there probably will be in 2026 as
Sure.
well. So a lot of people are going to go, hey, there's a bunch of deer tags here. I'm going to apply for that. Look at the 2025 regs.
Yep. It's obviously too hard to just build one regulations booklet in Idaho. So these are the hoops we got to jump through. But when you apply, obviously there's no draw odds. This is the first year, so there's nothing historical to look back on. All you can see is the quota. You can estimate demand based on, the harvest success, the public land access, things we talked about. But honestly, nobody knows how many people are going to apply this year. A big change is now you can apply as a party in this application. Before, I know we had a question come in from a member of the webinar tonight that said, what if my buddy gets a tag and I don't? How do we make sure we both get tags? That was a pain before if you bought them online because you couldn't make sure that you both bought the same tag at the same time. So now you can apply as a party of 4. You will all draw the same tag and you can plan a group hunt finally, which is important on general hunts. When you do that application, there will be 5 choices. So we'll mention that. All first choices will be awarded before they go to second and third. I would still recommend putting a second, third, fourth, or fifth choice on there, especially for deer. Just the order you're willing to hunt. If you're not willing to hunt it, don't put it on there, because a lot of people will put toughest to draw first. When those tags are gone, they roll to second choice. They will look at a lot of people's second choice, but the order matters. Put them all in because it doesn't hurt.
Yep.
Okay, what does this cost? This comes up a lot. Luckily, Idaho said no application fees for this general draw. $0, 0 cents. That's good. How are they going to make their money? They make it off of license fees. So you must buy a $205 adult hunting license that's valid for the 2026 calendar year. Can't use this year's. You got to buy a 2026. You must buy that to be eligible. So a little steep, but you're going to have to find other uses for that license. You can hunt wolves and bears next year, over-the-counter tags still, or you can apply in the other draws, like we mentioned, the other controlled draws in April and June. You're going to be eligible for those because you got a 2026 license. Junior hunters pay about half that. They're just under $96 if you're a youth, so expensive youth license. But then you do not have to pay for the elk or deer actual tag. That's going to be optional once you draw.
At the time of application.
Yep. So you just pay the $205 as an adult. You go in the draw. They tell you if you drew or not in January, and then you still have the option. They're not going to auto charge your credit card. They're going to give you a few weeks. You can think about it. If plans changed or whatever, you can decide to go in and manually purchase that tag on the credit card you want. Then they print it and mail it to you. At that time, you can buy your archery or muzzleloader permit, which is additional money they require if you're going to hunt the archery or muzzleloader seasons. So it functions kind of like a controlled draw. You see the screenshot below. It looks like a controlled draw, but it is a general draw, which is separate.
And Austin already touched on this, but you also can still apply in the actual controlled draw that's due June 5th. And if you draw a controlled elk hunt or a controlled deer hunt, you can transfer the tag that you got now to that new hunt.
It's called an exchange.
Exchange, that's the right word. You can exchange it for the actual controlled hunt.
So how do you justify the $205? Honestly, a lot of states are headed that way that require a non-refundable license. Idaho is one of the steeper ones. but you just have to make other use of that. Figure you might get in the sheep draw, or you could put in for some of these trophy quality hunts next year. You got to make the best use of that license if you can. With no point system, no loyalty, $205 just to put in for a general tag, it is steep. It's expensive. And we understand that. There was a question jumping back to the party. If you have your buddies and you all want to apply together, have everybody go buy their license separately. And that way you don't have to Venmo a bunch of money back and forth. Say, go buy your hunt license, go buy your hunt license. All you need is their hunt license number, and then you can apply them on a party application. You cannot attach to someone's application after you've submitted one, can't modify that application. So the application doesn't cost anything, but it can only go in once with the party members. So tell everybody to go buy their license separate, get all the license numbers together, and then you can submit the application once. When a party app goes in, it just goes in as one application, right? It gets one application draw number. If that application comes up, as long as there's enough quota for as many people on the app, say up to 4 people, then you all get tags. But if there's not 4 available, then none of you draw. But most all the quotas, there's way more than 4 tags available. So if you want to hunt together, definitely apply as a party.
Yep. And it's up to 4. It doesn't, it's not 1 or 4. It's any division between there and 4.
You only say 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly what I want.
Got it. Just making sure. Deadlines. We're in the middle of it.
We're getting close to the end of it. the middle was quick.
December 15th is our first application deadline, which is Monday. And then early January, they'll announce draw results. They give you a little bit of time, 2 weeks, to purchase your tag. They'll send you an email notice, say, are you going to purchase this? You're going to lose it if you don't. And I like this system because then you can choose. And if you do not want to purchase it for any reason or you forget, they take those tags back and they're going to roll it into a second application period. So I would put December 15th on your calendar and February 15th on your calendar, because there will be quite a few tags, probably some for every unit, roll into the second draw.
That go unclaimed.
Yeah, they just go unclaimed. People change their mind. They look at that $650 price tag for an elk tag and say, oh, I actually didn't want it that bad. So there will be a second draw. No cost to that one as well. So you can participate there. And then March 20th will be the deadline for that. Any tags that are left after that point can roll to their old over-the-counter system, which
every other Thursday
isn't great, but they'll sell them.
Yep.
They'll find a way to sell them. No problem.
They'll be gone.
Yeah.
It is important to know Idaho, like every other state, doesn't really care about your feelings. So if for some reason it goes to your spam or something else, or you're not being diligent and checking on this and you don't purchase your tag, it doesn't matter. It's going to go to somebody else. So stay diligent on it. Look at your spam if you're an email person, etc.
Yep. All right. Now that kind of rounds out some basics. When we get into actually applying, this is some of the nitty gritty. When you look at that booklet of how many tags are available, there's no nice drop down when you go to apply or a map to click on, like Nevada. It's not very intuitive. They give you this empty box over here on the left, and you got to type in a code. So you do have to go pull that code from the booklet. The regular deer ones start with RD, white-tailed deer is WD, and then elk, right? So definitely check it twice to make sure you're doing the right thing, because the elk are just a sequential number. If you put the wrong number in, you could be looking at a B tag in the wrong zone versus an A tag and get screwed up. So
it has nothing to do with zone in elk, nothing to do with zone numbers or zone names. You have to look at the booklet.
It's just a number.
Yeah, just a number.
Yeah, little messy. The drop down is just too hard. So this is the system they gave us. The quick question, there was a question about the second draw. What if you draw on the first draw and then you decline the tag or don't buy it? Can you participate in the second draw? Yes. They're still going to take your application, and you can switch to a different unit if something else is available. Put all 5 choices. everybody starts over. When Idaho completes their draw and people don't pick up their tags, it's resets and you can try again. Good question. Okay, that kind of covers that. Let's talk about junior hunters. This is a complicated one. It's been complicated for years in Idaho. But a junior mentored hunter, so that's a hunter that's basically 9 through 17, and he's going to buy that cheaper license, $95.75. But should they apply in this draw? And the answer is probably not. So what you want to do is let the adult draw the tag in this general draw for deer or elk. If they draw, then the youth hunter can buy an over-the-counter tag. There's no limit on how many youth tags can be sold. The only caveat is the adult hunter must have a valid tag for the same species somewhere in the state the same year.
But it does not have to be in the same unit. Like Austin said, the adult tag is limited to a certain unit for deer or a zone for elk, but the youth tag for deer in particular, they can hunt statewide.
Correct. Yep. So the only time a junior hunter should apply in this general draw is if they want a capped elk zone. A capped elk zone, meaning it is a capped for residents and non-residents. They must apply in the draw. For example, an adult is sitting there and saying, I want to apply for the Diamond Creek A elk tag. It's a highly sought after elk archery tag. It is capped for residents and non-residents. So if the adult draws it and tries to buy it over the counter for his junior hunter after the draw, he's ineligible. The junior can't buy it because the cap has been met. So definitely make sure that if you want the junior to draw a capped elk zone, as indicated in the booklet, that the junior applies on a party app with the dad or the mom. Yeah. But if it's uncapped or it's just a deer tag, do not waste the application of putting a youth in for it because they can just buy that afterwards. So it is a good opportunity. Say dad goes and gets a deer tag in a unit that might have some good deer hunting. He draws it and then he buys the youth hunter a statewide deer tag. They could jump all over different units hunting and not be restricted to the one where the dad was hunting. So
well said.
Some nuances there. The junior deer tags are substantially cheaper, as we showed. Not the cheapest in the West by any means, but about half price of what the adults pay. So kind of a hidden gem for junior hunters if the adult is willing to also put up the funds and go to Idaho. I want to touch on DAV. We get a lot of questions about this. This is Disabled American Veteran. I'm not a veteran, so I don't know all the details of how you get certified as a disabled American veteran, but know quite a few vets that can get qualified for this in Idaho. There's a form you fill out, get it signed, and you can be eligible for a lot cheaper license fees, tag fees, and Idaho sets aside 500 deer tags that are valid statewide just for disabled American veterans. And they set aside 300 DAV elk tags for those uncapped zones only. And this is a separate draw. So if you're a DAV, you apply in the DAV deer draw, the DAV elk draw. Those will happen first. And then you also can apply for the regular deer draw and the regular elk draw. All application fees are $0, but if you miss the DAV drawing because they're limited in number, they'll roll you into the regular adult drawing.
Perfectly well said. Fancy hunt codes, as you can see here. DAVRD for regular deer, WD for white-tailed deer, and DAV hunt number for elk.
Yeah.
DAVE because it's elk.
It's Dave.
It's Dave.
Yes.
Dave for elk.
DAV is now Dave.
Nope.
But those are the basics of applying. It's not the easiest, but I want to just reiterate, come back to who's hunting, where are you hunting? Do you have youth hunters? What kind of hunter are you looking for? And play in the draw. People have asked us, what are odds going to look like? How many people are going to apply? Our best guess is a lot. There's been 30 to 60,000 people in years past trying to snag up these tags when they were over the counter. That doesn't count the thousands of people that have sat out saying, I'm not going to waste my time because it's not going to work. So now those people are back in because a draw is more fair. It's more equal against those that can't come to the state or don't have fast internet. A draw is the fair way to do it, but it does bring the connotation that if it's a draw, it's better. Not necessarily, right? These hunts aren't the trophy best hunts in Idaho. They're just general hunts, but you should come and do it if you want.
Most of our team will probably apply for tags in this draw if that helps people make their decisions from their couch. Elk hunts and deer hunts both are getting harder and harder to come by. We always try to have a couple, 3 tags of each in our pockets, and most of us will be participating in this Idaho draw for the general tags.
Well, the odds are going to look good when compared to some of the odds we look at day after day. Like, I want archery hunt in Arizona for elk. Yeah, good luck getting a tag, right?
22 years later.
Yeah. You want to archery hunt for big bulls in Utah. Good luck.
Right.
We're running out of those opportunities for easy to get archery elk or rifle mule deer tags. Colorado's not getting any easier. Montana's not getting any easier, even for the general tags. So it is a good opportunity if you are looking for a public land hunt to go learn, use your skills, e-scout a lot, and give it your best.
We do acknowledge that most of those hunts are going to be for on the top end, 3.5 to 4.5 year old type of animals. Again, Idaho's managing for opportunity for the most part, which we do appreciate, so that we can get time in the woods. But we want to make sure everybody understands the trophy potential overall is relatively low in all of these general hunts.
Yep. What would you expect, Jared? I mean, you've never been to Idaho before. You want to go hunt archery elk. Like, what are your expectations? Spending close to $1,000, elk license and tag included. Like, what would you expect going into that?
As long as you're looking at, you're kind of cross-referencing either our data from Huntin Fool, which again, Austin alluded to that at the start. If you're already an onX Elite member, all you got to do is activate your digital membership. You get a free copy of this online. You can see every one of our unit recommendations, our write-ups, etc. As long as you cross-reference it with a source like Huntin Fool or Idaho's own state website, and look for an area that has population objectives that are at or near or above where they want to be, has decent harvest statistics, etc., I would expect a fantastic elk or deer hunt. And when I say fantastic, I mean, like, you're going to see some animals and you're going to be in the game.
Yeah. When comparing a lot of these archery elk general hunts versus, say, a Colorado archery hunt, success a lot of times is much higher. I mean, we're seeing 20 to 30% on an archery elk hunt. That's pretty high for archery public land.
Yep.
That gets me interested. And then you look at the percentage of 6-point bulls killed, and some of them are shocking, right? Like, whoa, this might be a better hunt than I thought, and it might be worth my time.
Well, Idaho has limited the participation in these general hunts significantly for at least 4 years now. I'm trying to remember when they made the big cuts. And so, it is a little bit like a controlled hunt or a limited entry hunt, in that non-resident participation has already been limited for multiple years now. And I think they're good hunts personally. Plus I love the state of Idaho, whether you're hunting clear south. I've hunted from the Nevada border all the way to the Canadian border, or at least 20 miles from it. I guess that would be the furthest north. And the topography is diverse. The habitat's diverse. The way that you hunt in each of those areas is diverse.
Sure.
So again, that's Austin's point. Make sure that it matches kind of your hunting style and expectations too.
Yep.
Having said that, again, going back to elk, the A tags, the archery rich hunts, the ones that favor archery, are going to be your best bet in Idaho. There's not going to be a lot of it. The demand for the rifle hunts is going to be high.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of competition for that because there's just not that many of them. And it's also important to note that when you log into the website in Idaho, even though they're adamant that this is not a controlled hunt, you have to hit the controlled hunt link in order to apply. So you're going to get into Idaho's website. You're going to see a controlled hunt tile at the top of the website there. Once you've logged in, you're going to have to click that in order to get in and drop these hunt codes in to apply, even though it's not technically a controlled hunt.
Yep, that's right. Just a reminder, if you need more help, you can get an onX discount. We offer that. It's substantial. Elite members get our digital membership for free. Come up to our pro membership and we give you a discount there as well, where you can have as many consultations with our advisors as you would like. So we're going to get into some questions here. We got some good ones. But Dylan, you want to talk about the giveaway here for a sec?
Yeah. So it is 5 free consultations. It is 5. Yes, I needed to double check that there. And correct me if I'm wrong, Austin, but that's where somebody can call you guys up and get in touch with one of you guys and have that person-to-person conversation. I personally do this all the time. These guys are probably sick of hearing from me by the end of application season, but it is invaluable for me to figure out A, what states I'm going to apply to, B, where my money is going to be best served, and also have the conversation of like, here is kind of my expectation, right? I would like to find this class of deer. Does this exist? Is this a pipe dream? Bring me back to reality so I know that when I'm spending my money on these applications, and if I get lucky enough to draw the tag and spend the money to go across state lines and do all this stuff, that it is going to potentially exceed my expectations, or I'm not, thinking something of a hunt that just isn't reality. So it is super valuable. Huntin' Fool is going to be doing 5 of those. So we will select 5 lucky folks to do that. And we'll notify you if you're one of the 5, get you in touch with them, and you'll be off to the races. But yeah, it's worth applying. The link is in the chat and it just takes a second.
Perfect.
Don't feed me any questions I can't answer, Austin.
I'm going to give you
give me the softballs.
No, we've had some good interactions, some good questions here. That there's so many questions that I have to turn and ask hunters, about them, their expectations, their budget, their time, to give the best answer. But we'll cover some of these here and make sure we can help you out. So do you got some on your end, Dylan, queued up before we get to mine?
I've got a couple here. You guys have done a good job, as always, of answering some of these along as we go. But one specifically, grizzly bears in a unit. What's your guys' thoughts? Is that something in your guys' conversations with folks? Does that come up very often of like if it's a heavily grizzly dense part of the state, are they shying away from that, or what does that look like?
It definitely doesn't come up as much as it does in Wyoming. The Wyoming experience can be greatly impacted by grizzlies in that northwest corner of the state. We do hear about it in Idaho, where people just do not want to mess with it along that Montana border, pretty much all the way along the Montana border. You could have interactions there, but it doesn't seem to affect as many people, right? It might affect your experience for sure, but it doesn't overall. Are people avoiding those units because of grizzlies? Not like they do in other states, in my opinion.
No, I would totally agree with that. It is one of our primary questions that we ask our license application clients that we actually do their apps for. It's one of our primary questions because there are certain, if you do not want to be around grizzly bears under any circumstances, then we want to help you avoid that. Generally speaking, I personally don't care about it. I don't love it. I don't sleep quite as good at night, if I'm honest, when I'm tucked into my little tent and hear something scuffling outside, but it doesn't deter me or any of our teammates, and the majority of clients and or members and hunters in general, I think just want to have a good wilderness experience. And generally where the grizzly bears live is kind of the wilder places of, the lower 48. So, you get the trade-off of having a really neat wilderness backcountry experience, knowing that, there's some big bears with long claws roaming around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got another one here. Where can somebody find harvest percentage success rate, as you were saying, is pretty high on some of these archery elk units? Where can somebody go to find that?
Yeah. So there's a couple plays. I'll start with the state itself. So the state uses a tool that's pretty up to date. It's pretty quick. as far as sorting the filters you want on harvest success, the percentage of 6-point bulls, and they update it quite regularly after they, finish their mandatory harvest reporting sections. Also, in our November magazine on the units and the zones that we talked about, we have our analysis. A lot of times on harvest success, we'll take out like cows or antlerless elk killed on an archery hunt, even though it was legal to kill them, or try to manipulate the data a little bit there to make sure we are helping
We
to make
assume
good
most people would
decisions.
like to kill a bull,
Right.
even if they'd be very happy to kill a cow. So we're just trying to make sure that you understand what you can expect with our data in terms of your desire to probably kill a bull with your bow or your gun or
Right.
or a buck. But Idaho itself does provide I would say it's a robust harvest report system that you can get to fairly easily and sort. You can actually sort the columns in Idaho by percentage of 6-point bulls or percent of harvest, etc., by weapon, you name it.
Yep.
It is important to
Cool.
note that in Idaho, they don't go by zone. So, for example, if you hunt the limhi zone and you have 4 GMUs within the limhi zone, it's gonna show you each individual zone as opposed, or sorry, each individual GMU as opposed to the actual zone data as a whole, which actually I think is an advantage. It's a good thing, but it is important to note that if you're looking for zone data in Idaho for harvest, you're not going to find it. It's going to be the individual GMUs within the zone.
Yep.
Awesome. I only have two more here. I don't know if you guys have any others queued up on your end. This one's kind of a more generalized question for anybody traveling for hunts, but I think it's an important one, especially if you're coming out and flying or whatnot. But what is the best way to get meat back to the East Coast after a Western hunt? Um, I mean, I'll take a stab at that, and you guys tell me what you guys have found. Obviously, if you're East Coast, you're probably flying. I've done it a couple of different times. I was just down in Hawaii this year and shot an axis deer and pre-froze all of the meat, bought a cooler, got it wrapped up tight and nice in a cooler, and that meat was still frozen when I arrived home in Montana. So, I would imagine flights probably aren't going to be too much more extensive or long than Hawaii to Montana. So if you freeze everything and chunk it all out and clean it up, you can get it into a relatively small cooler. If you're talking a deer, elk, you might have to buy a couple. But I have flown with, or from Alaska back to Montana with stuff in a cooler before. What's your guys' best practice for that?
Yeah, a lot of times when you take it to a meat processor, they'll have, like a LTL truck, a freezer truck option for you. If you're shipping a pallet, say there's multiple hunters, oftentimes I just fly with my meat, like you said. Don't wait to get it processed. Just put it in a cooler, extra bag, and go. But if you're have more time or you want it processed, you're going to have to go the processor route. And usually they have an option for you to ship it to you that's not, FedEx or something expensive. So it can be done for sure.
Yeah, Dylan, I've done everything from having a generator in the back of my truck with a small freezer to using a local processor and flying it out to flying my own meat home. It's probably one of the biggest challenges that you face when you come out west is because even getting it pre-froze, like you froze your axis deer, a lot of places don't really want to handle a ton of wild game. When you go to like a local meat processor, that's getting more and more common, I think, not less common, where they're like, no, we just, we're all cows and pigs. So that research on the front side is actually a really important part to do. So it's a good mention. And I've tried all of the methods and had all of them work.
Nice. Two more on my end. One that just came up. Has Idaho moved to digital tagging or is there still paper tagging?
Hey, just like every state, right? They announce it. Oh, we're going to move to e-tagging. And 3 years later, they're like, we promise we're going to move to e-tagging. So they're pretty slow. I'm just looking a lot of they've got a decent app where you can pull up your hunting fishing license through the Go Outdoors system. I've used it on my phone, but as far as I know, the only thing you can tag in there is like fishing permits for salmon and stuff.
Salmon and steelhead so far.
Yeah, I've never heard that they're ready to launch that for big game like they are in other states actively. So they're still going to mail you that paper tag on that little waterproof paper, and you can go from there.
Well, at least it's waterproof. Montana's no longer waterproof, so I got to carry around some Ziploc baggies.
There you go.
True.
Last one that I have here, unless you guys have anything, you guys touched on it a little bit, but would it be possible to cover how you can use that hunting license if you're not drawn? Can it be used for 2027 tag applications, and what other hunting opportunities are there? I know a couple that you guys touched on were bear and wolves. I've personally hunted bears several times in Idaho, and it's an awesome Western hunt. I mean, I would urge anybody who just wants to come west and experience Western hunting and dip your feet into it. Like spring bear hunting in Idaho is pretty awesome, and you can find yourself in some pretty nasty, deep, dark canyons, and yeah, it's a cool experience. So I think over-the-counter bear tags are relatively inexpensive. You guys might know the cost of those, but that's one that I have done, so I can speak on it, and it's worthwhile if you're not opposed to spring bear hunting.
For sure.
Well, and Dylan, you mentioned a good point. A lot of times I'll recommend to members that if they want to come out, if they don't draw a tag, if they bought the hunting license, they want to come out and hunt spring bear, come late enough in the season. Idaho has very generous spring bear seasons. They go late enough that a lot of the snow melts off, and you can actually use it as a pre-scouting trip for an elk hunt or deer hunt that you eventually want to plan. So it kind of kills two birds with one stone, where you come out and you're not just scouting, you're actually hunting for a spring bear while you're learning the road system and all the other kind of nuances of the unit that you want to eventually get a deer or an elk tag in.
Yeah.
And yes, they are quite inexpensive if it's in the two bear areas or the reduced bear areas. They're very inexpensive. I can't remember what it is. I think it's about
over 30.
Yeah, like very, very cheap bear tags in those areas. They're usually backcountry areas that they're having a more difficult time managing predators in. And then mountain lions, of course, spot and stock mountain lion hunting isn't a real popular effort, but you can get mountain lion tags easy, bear tags, wolf tags. Yep. And again, I usually consider it to be like combine some fly fishing or, some fishing with it and use it for a scouting trip. So the hunting license is valuable for that. Idaho also has a lot of upland bird hunting. That's fun to come out and do too. Idaho is one of the biggest public land states out there. So there's a lot of opportunity if you want to try to maximize that $205 hunting license.
Yeah. As far as the draws you can participate in, you have to think of it, this is a 2026 license. You can only do things that relate to the 2026 calendar year. So you can apply in either the sheep, moose, and goat draw, pick one of those in April and put your name in the hat, all random, no points, or put your name in the hat for deer, elk, and antelope for the controlled June deadline and no points, same thing. So there's some great trophy hunts you could put your name in for. And since you already have that qualifying license, $205, you're eligible. When everything resets the end of 2026, I know it's December when they start selling the next year tags. So you would have to buy a new license. There's no way to get 2 years worth of applications out of this one license like you can do in some states. You're just buying this for 2026. But it doesn't hurt you to sit out a year. If you said there's no way I'm planning Idaho elk or deer hunt for next year, 26, that's fine. Sit out a year, put it on your calendar for next December and plan something for 27. It's not like they haven't got you addicted to buying their licenses
so
where
you get points.
Yeah, no. Yeah. So yeah, it's expensive, but just do it on the year that you need it, that you want to apply, and then it's not as expensive. The reason they want our license money, I think it's important to understand application fees we pay to states don't get matched, by Pittman Robertson funds, or they have no way to match those because they're just applications. But the sale of license fees, or you'll see when you buy this hunting license for $205, you get a 3-day fishing license in there too, right? Because then it can get matched by DJ funds. And so they can triple your money with federal grants and all these funds set aside from the sales of sporting equipment and everything. That's what funds the Department of Idaho. So that's why they want us to buy licenses. It's good for the agency. It helps generate their money. And I just see it as it's a write-off.
It's a cost of doing business. It's a donation to conservation.
It's
That's
a donation.
what it is.
Yeah, it's going to a state agency, but these state
If you don't
agencies
draw or don't.
are funded by themselves by license sales. So it's how they do it. So yeah, it's steeper there, but application fees in this instance are zero. And I think that's a good way to do it.
Awesome. Well, that is everything I have on my end for questions, unless you guys have any last minute ones there.
Austin's scrolling.
Yeah. I mean, some of these we covered, like can deer tags be hunted with archery and rifle, depending on the season? Yeah. When you draw a deer tag, you get every open season in that unit. You can hunt it. So if you don't kill on the archery, you can come back on the rifle. A lot of times when you go the elk route, you're stuck with whatever it says on that line. If you have an elk A tag, you can only hunt the seasons there. There may be a rifle season. There's probably just an archery season. Maybe then it turns into a cow only muzzleloader. Like you just have to follow those restrictions for that tag. But anything that's open on the general season on that line, you're eligible for it. So I think that's about it. I mean, I hope everybody
Awesome.
comes to Idaho. We are not paid by the state of Idaho to say this, but there are some good opportunities up there, and I think it should be on everybody's list.
Me too.
Awesome. Well, I thoroughly appreciate you guys and the time, and I know everybody that was on this. I saw a ton of really positive comments and helped out a lot of folks. So again, this is for everybody still on. This is kind of the first of many application webinars this season. So keep an eye on our webinar page and sign up. Even if you're not sure if you're going to make it in person or not, sign up and then we'll email you a link to it after the fact. So thank you guys and looking forward to chatting soon and doing the next one of these.
Sounds good. Thanks,
you. Thanks, Dylan. Thanks everybody for attending. We appreciate you.
See ya.
Have a good night. Thanks, guys.
Bye.